going on, guys? Chaseontwowheels here in Mountain Motorsports in Roswell, Georgia. In front of us, I have a buddy's 2015 Yamaha Super Tenere. This is his daily bike. It's my buddy Patrick, the co-host over at On Four Wheels, our car review channel. So this is his actual bike, and he was like, bro, you should do my bike as a first ride. I said absolutely. I love this space right now, and he loves this bike, so I can't wait to ride it around and figure out why he loves it. And then, as it is always on a first ride, you guys know I'm going to end it with telling you guys if I would pick it up or not. But before we get started, let's see what it looks like and let's see what it sounds like. Now guys, that's what the bike looks like, and that's what the bike sounds like. Now this video is not sponsored, but it is massively supported by our dream bike giveaway website, wbrgarage.com. We are currently building a 2008 Yamaha R6 dream bike, and we're going to be giving it away to one of the people that support the website. Go sign up over there, grab some merch, grab a membership level, and you could win a 2018 Yamaha R6 fully kitted out. It's pretty exciting. Go check it out, wbrgarage.com. There's going to be a link in the description. Thank you guys so much for anybody that supports that. And guys, let's get this thing going. First off, let's get the phone on the quad lock, and let's go ride this big old thing. Let's do a little walk around real quick and talk about the modifications. We got a Puig windscreen. It's huge. We got all the Givy stuff in the back, which is awesome. Patrick also said we have Givy side rails and a skid plate. I do not know the company that makes the skid plate. I would assume if this Givy company makes a skid plate, it's probably what that is. So it looks like Patrick's got this thing figured out really for touring with the screen and all the luggage. And it looks like a solid bike to be touring on, so I can't wait to check this thing out. Holy crap, I can flat foot? That's amazing. Alrighty guys, we got a little Tenere, Super Tenere on there. So guys, I am 5'10", I got a 32-inch inseam, and right now, I can flat foot, but let me tell you, I can only just flat foot. My legs are slightly bent, but I'm able to flat foot, which is a huge deal on a big touring and ADV bike. Nothing to it but to do it, fam. Let's get this thing going. And guys, before we get going, if you guys are on Discord and you enjoy Discord communities, we got a motorcycle Discord that you can check out. Link in the description. It's full of people that are fans of motorcycles just like you. It's a cool place to hang out. Go check it out. Should we go? Oh, we should go. Okay, let's go ahead and go before all the people come. Let's see what this bike's got. Oh my goodness. Yay! I love me a good ADV bike, dude. Alrighty guys, so the Super T, the Super Tenere, this motorcycle, I don't know if Yamaha even still makes the Super Tenere, but this is their big deal touring ADV bike. It's got a 1200cc parallel twin. Power wise, we're looking at around 112 horsepower and 90-ish foot-pounds of torque. And this thing weighs like 580 something, so it's a big old boy. Let's see how she rides. First up, let's talk about body position. Right now, I'm kind of up front on the seat, and the seat feels kind of thin, but then I sit back on the seat and it's super wide, so I'm loving that. As far as my legs feel very comfortable. They're tucked back just the smallest amount, and then my upper body is straight up and my arms are kind of draped in front of me, kind of lower handlebars than I would kind of expect on a bike like this. But this body position is taking no energy of mine. I could honestly see you doing an iron butt on a bike like this. This is just a phenomenal body position to stay comfortable and put a ton of miles on a motorcycle. All right, guys, coming up to this red light, we can talk about modes real quick. We do have a couple mode options on this bike. We have touring mode, which you can see at the front, it says T. And then if you hit this little mode dial, we go to S, which is sport. We're going to be in S now, and I'll see if I can tell a difference. We also have traction control modes. So this bike's got TC off, TC1, and TC2. Patrick told me that he always keeps it in traction control 1. 1 is the lightest traction control you can have on the bike while the bike is still engaging traction control. He said he's not a big fan of 2, so I'm going to keep it in 1. I mean, if an owner tells me the preferred traction control, that's the one I'm going to go with. Now, as far as those power modes, sport mode's going to give you all of the power of the bike. And from what I understand, touring mode is going to give you full power, but it's going to deliver it in a smoother way. The only places I can really tell right now, at least kind of bogged down in traffic, is that initial throttle hit when the throttle initially engages. That's the only time I can really tell I'm in a different mode than touring. But we'll keep playing around up here and see what it feels like. That front wheel got real light for a second. Bro, the parallel twin in this bike, it gives you this illusion of stability and smoothness, and then when you honk on it in sport mode, it's just like, bruh. One of the cool things about this bike is it is shaft driven. So instead of a chain, there's a shaft that drives the rear wheel. That kind of like shaft driven kind of bump up and down, like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but the bike kind of lifts up some. And that's happened on other bikes I've driven that are shaft driven. Now, it doesn't on this bike way more when it's in sport mode, but when you're in touring mode, it doesn't really seem to be that bad. I'm not a huge fan of bikes doing that because it kind of upsets the geometry of the bike, and I'm not a huge fan, but I do see a lot of the pros of having a shaft-driven bike. Sport mode is just way more bitey, and in certain circumstances, I could totally see why you would want sport mode, but for driving around town, like this type of riding, this is not, like, I don't want that twitchiness of sport mode. Look at that. The bike just seems ready to jump down your throat. I would not ride it around town in sport mode if I owned this motorcycle. One of the interesting things I am noticing is just how controllable, though, that this bike is. Given that it's almost 600 pounds, and actually with all of that luggage, it's probably over 600 pounds. We're gonna go ahead and go because these people aren't paying attention. For a bike that's probably over 600 pounds, this thing is incredibly maneuverable. I would not have expected that from a bike like this. I wouldn't expect that from, you know, any of the other brand new bikes. But this thing just has an ease of it that maybe it's top heavy or something. Whatever it is, I like it. Oh, that's such a fun amount of power for the street. I love it. All right, guys, so going back to balance, like I said, the bike kind of throws itself over super easily, and the controls with this handlebar make it effortless to control it at low speeds. And it seems to be super happy when you're giving it some too. That suspension in the front's a little soft though. Look at the dive. A lot of dive going on. I think the suspension is set up in general a little too soft for me personally. One of the things that's cool about this bike is that the suspension is fully adjustable. So you got adjustable knobs up here on the front suspension, and you also have the rear suspension is just a dial. Like you can hand adjust it, which is pretty awesome. Such good, fun, torquey power. You would not expect Like, this bike feels like it has that punch like an MT-07 does. This feels like a really big MT-07, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, that's exactly what this bike feels like. And that's probably why I'm enjoying riding it so much. All right, guys, this is a big touring bike. We got this really big windscreen. The highway should be a glorious time. So we're going to be getting on the highway here. I've got some high expectations out of this thing. We are in sport mode. We are going to do a 40 to 80 pull on this thing. All right, guys, 40 to 80 pull on a 2015 Yamaha Tenere, Super Tenere. All right, and go. There's 80. Not too bad. I kind of got a bad start there, but that's totally adequate for a 600-pound motorcycle. With parallel twins, I wouldn't expect them to have a lot of top-end power, and I definitely don't get that with this bike. But I will totally sacrifice top-end power for fun, grunty torque. That's the name of the game with this bike here. All right, guys, so we got the Super Tenere on the highway, which should be its home. This Puig windscreen is doing amazing, and keep in mind, I've got the screen in the low position. So right now, as far as wind, the wind is right above my helmet, which is amazing. I got no wind on my chest area. Where I am getting a lot of wind is my shoulders and my arm. So that's kind of like moving my body around a little bit, but nothing I would be worried about. As far as vibration here on the highway, this might be one of the smoothest bikes I've ever ridden on the highway. I'm barely getting enough vibration in my handlebars and my feet to even perceive it, which is incredible. Power on the highway, we're going 6th gear, we're going 80 miles an hour, and we are chilling around 4,000 RPM. So this engine is just barely purring here on the highway, keeping us going highway speed. Stability wise, this thing is a tank. I'm not going anywhere. If I wanted no wind on me at all, I could raise that windscreen. This thing's phenomenal. I love the seating position. One of the other things I love is cruise control. I would not want this motorcycle without cruise control, and the fact that it has it is almost a dang requirement for a bike like this. One thing I'm noticing is that big windscreen makes it so you don't realize how fast you're going. I'm just chilling around 90 naturally. I don't feel like I'm going fast. That's crazy. This is one of those bikes you got to be careful with. You'll start speeding and be like, oh, I did not mean to be going that fast. Bike honestly feels good leaned over. I don't like being leaned over in sport mode though, because now any slight actuation of that throttle is gonna like disrupt the bike. I don't like that a lot. Maybe it's because I'm going slow and I'm kind of stuck behind traffic, and maybe if I was under throttle it wouldn't be so bad. I'm actually going to get back in touring mode because I was a much bigger fan of the bike in touring mode. And guys, let's jump over to the camera car and see what those guys think of the Super Tenere.
All right, the old Super T. Fun fact, even though it's huge, it's one of the few bikes that I fit very comfortably on, so it's short person friendly.
It is short person friendly, and it's my bike. I'm a huge fan of it. I love the thing. There's literally not a thing about it I don't like.
Not a biased opinion at all.
Not biased in the slightest. Nope.
Alrighty, guys, on the camera car, thank you for your opinions, and even more so, thank you, Cardo. If you guys want to grab a 10% off discount code, we got one for you in the link in the description down below. Alright, guys, so let's talk about the power on the Super Tenere. Not a huge fan of sport mode. I love the power delivery on sport mode, but it's a little too twitchy on initial throttling. So I think if I owned this motorcycle, I would almost always keep it in touring mode. It's got it pared down just enough to be really controllable. I'm a big fan. The power amount, I'm totally here for. I think this bike has a great amount of power that could kill somebody. Good God. I love the amount of power the bike has. When I heard the numbers originally, 112 horsepower and 90 foot-pounds of torque, I didn't think that would be enough given the weight of the bike, but now having ridden it around, it really gives me like a fun, grunty amount of power that I'm super happy with. As far as the steering is incredibly light, which around town and stuff is great. I love that. When I was going too fast on the highway, the suspension just started wiggling all over the place. So I would firm the suspension up if I owned this motorcycle. But so far, like, the softness is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It makes the ride incredibly comfortable, which is awesome, but you lose out on a little bit of that performance. So you got to find that right balance for you. With this being a fully adjustable front and rear suspension, I wouldn't worry about that. As far as shifting gears and the shifter, we do have a regular shifter. There's no quick shifter up or down. I've had no problem shifting into gears. I've had no problem with the bike getting into gears. I get a good click when I click into them, so I've got no wants for that. Braking wise, honestly, it's surprisingly good. I don't know what I expected out of this bike. The braking is sufficient for a 600-pound bike, which is pretty impressive. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of with the brakes is the same thing with the suspension. It's a little soft in the front. The bike dives a lot when you under heavy braking, which I'm not a huge fan of. Incredible you can have a bike this big and this heavy, and you can really push it and have such a good time with it. I would not have expected that out of a bike this big. Look at them brakes. ABS kicking on a little bit in the rear. This bike is, like I said, it's very heavy on paper, but when you start going, it just drifts away. But when you're not moving, you got to be careful with this thing, because that weight, like, I don't get to until right here, and I can instantly start feeling that weight hefty on me. So the weight's controllable when you're going, but man, don't tip this thing over. You are not going to be having a good time. All right, guys, let's talk about the controls on the old Super T. Now, as far as the controls go, I think these are almost identical to my MT-10. So what I love is that seeing a bike that's a 2015, so what is that, like 8 years old almost? And the controls look almost brand new. So I love the fact that all these controls are holding up to the test of time. They all work incredibly regular, incredibly fine. You get a good click when you click everything. Yamaha has since updated their cruise control to be a lot more efficient, so I love seeing that. But these controls work totally great. I love my MT-10 controls. I got no problems with these. The screen up there, also very similar to my 2019 MT-10. It's the very Game Boy-y screen, nothing fancy going on. But I do like that kind of rugged box that's around the screen up there. I appreciate that we have a big gas gauge. I appreciate that we have a gear indicator. And all the information is pretty simple up there. On the very top of that box, we also have the blinker indicators, as well as the traction control and reset buttons on the side. I kind of like the look of the box. It makes me feel like the bike is rugged, and gives me that kind of feeling. We also have adjustable levers, both brake and clutch, which is great. I would complain that they're silver, but they're kind of hidden by the brush guard, so I'm not too worried about that. I also got a power outlet in the front, which is perfect, because a bike like this, you're probably going to have accessories in the front, and you're going to need to power those accessories somehow. The shifting, like I said, shifting's been very normal. Yamaha's got a solid gearbox in almost every one of their motorcycles, so I didn't expect anything different than that. So far, super happy with the controls. I do feel like these need to be held down somewhere, these throttle cables, but, I mean, it is what it is. They just kind of wiggle here, and it gets on my nerves. Need to zip tie them or something. Anyways, guys, we're going to pull off up here and do a little walk around of the bike and talk through what I feel about it. Oh, I can get my spot back. Yay! We love to see it. We love to see it. Good God, dude, look at that. Oh my goodness. It's like all the way to the side. That's insane. Alrighty, guys, I got the big old 2015 Super T. Let's get off this thing and check it out. God, Patrick, I am so sorry. I keep kicking your bags, but I'm guaranteed that you've kicked those things before. Alrighty, guys, 2015 Yamaha Super Tenere adventured out. This thing is a big old boy, and there is no getting around that. But look how soft the dang seat is. That's insane. The seat is also adjustable, by the way. Patrick was telling me you can adjust it for a lower and higher setup, so that's pretty awesome. And look at the rear seat. This is a dream for a passenger. So we've got Yamaha's typical silver, black, and blue on this bike. Love that. Love that the suspension, we get a little bit of yellow and gold. I am digging this bike. I'm not a huge fan of the looks myself. I don't really love these bubbly headlights up front. Performing solidly. Very surprised at how it's performing. And it's a parallel twin. It is a 1200cc parallel twin. That's insane. One of the cool things about this bike is look how the exhaust just kind of like wrap around the engine. It's kind of like a little border or something. That's pretty cool. Very unique. Look at that. That's the screen. The screen is so big, dude. I also love the thickness of these bars on the side. Nice purchase on that. And as you guys can see, these bags look freaking super solid. This bike would be such a good road tourer bike. I'm sure it is. I'll have to talk with Pat about it, but he's got to love this thing. And as you guys can see on this side of the swing arm is our shaft for shaft driven and all. So what I'm going to do right now, guys, I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to take a couple videos, little vertical videos for our TikTok and Instagram pages. If you guys aren't following me, I'm C2Dub Pics over on Instagram and I'm at Chaseontwowheels on TikTok. You guys go give me a follow. I'm going to grab these on my phone real quick and I will be right back. All right, guys, that's all she wrote for vertical video. I'm getting the phone back on the quad lock and then let's get this video finished up and let's see if this is something I would personally purchase, as well as a steering stem lock test, which, as we could tell earlier, is going to be great. Got it in first, steering stem locked, good God. All right, let's see what she does. Goodness gracious, man. Top 5. Easy. Another thing is when I was steering stem locked, this bike was super balanced rolling around with the steering stem locked. That is pretty impressive, and I like a lot. Let's keep this first ride going. Alright, guys. So, one of the weird things, before we get to the rest of this video, I gotta point out the noise that this bike makes. You guys hear it? There's like a little whistly tapping that's going on, and it's under throttle. Like that's an engine noise that it's making, and I don't know if that's because it's a big parallel twin or what. It just sounds kind of weird though, right? Can you guys hear it? It's like a little whistly thing. Kind of strange. So guys, would I grab this bike? And I don't really know. So the reason is because I think this was a phenomenal motorcycle if you're going to do road touring and do a ton of it. Now, I know that this bike, if you set it up correctly, is capable of off-road stuff. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying this bike would do phenomenal on-road. And right now, I'm looking for an ADV bike, and for what I want a bike that I can very easily take like on touring. I need it to be a little light enough to where I can go off-road. And that's what I'm looking for in a big ADV bike right now. And I just don't think I would want this bike for off-road. I think it's just a little too heavy because like when you're going it's fine, but if something were to mess up and you get the bike leaned over and falling down, I would not want to pick this thing up. So because of that, I don't think it's the right bike for me. But if you guys are looking for a big touring bike that would be phenomenal for road touring, this thing is in the top 10 easily with no question. I was really impressed with the Tiger 1200, the 2023 model. And I was like, this might be one of the best bikes to do like a long iron butt on. I'm realizing this thing was already at the top of the class already. I just didn't even know about it. As far as road touring, this thing might be a king of the class. So if that's what you're looking for, I think you guys might really enjoy this motorcycle. And guys, that's all I've got for this first ride. If you guys want to see the first ride I did on that 2023 Triumph Tiger 1200, which is a very comparable bike to this, Granted, it costs like 3 times as much. We'll leave that link for you. Thank you guys very much for watching the first rides. If you got to the end during the outro crew, so leave me a comment. Let me know, guys. Is a touring bike have to have off-road capabilities for you, or is it okay if it's just awesome for road touring? Let me know in the comments down below. You guys ride safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Also, shout out to my buddy Patty Rick for letting me borrow the bike. You guys go follow him at links in the description to his IG or our On Four Wheels channel, because we review cars and I review motorcycles. It's a good time.